to this computer. Ooh, I like her voice. But
yeah. I was about to say, got it. I just want to be like, just say it again. Record in progress. Thank you. It makes me change my voice. It's like when I talk to somebody, like when I call somebody and I use my professional voice, and I'm like, hey, how are you? This is Master Sergeant Beckwith. I was just calling to see if you had the supplies that we had ordered. Is that a thing that you have, possibly?
Hello, you've reached Master Sergeant Beckwith. Please leave a message.
Yeah, that's until they're like, no. And then I'm like, what did you say, motherfucker?
Yeah. Do you know who I am?
God damn it, I'm going down there right now. I swear to Christ, like, if I find one fucking Kim light on your goddamn shelves and I don't fucking have it, I'm butt fucking everybody with that Kim light.
Yeah, see, that's another thing we could talk about. Is like when you have an E7 or an above, like say something to you. If you don't agree, just say Roger anyways. You don't have to do it.
Do you not remember back in the day when Roger that was code word for go fuck yourself?
Yeah,
like,
Roger that.
Hey, Private.
Yeah.
Your specialist med lab. I want you to go fucking mop the goddamn grass. And you're like, what? Mop the fucking grass. You know what I fucking said. Roger that, Sarge.
Roger that, Sarge.
Roger that. Mm-hmm. Roger that.
Like, you know, because the squad leaders know what's going on. So you can always just be like, did he mean that? No. He was talking about it like an hour ago and it kind of got mixed up with a different thing. Like he wants this. Like
he's real upset right now. Yeah. He just got out of a meeting with the first sergeant. The first sergeant yelled at him.
Yeah.
Then he came back. He yelled at us.
Yeah.
Then he tried to yell at you guys, and he just to go out there with some mops. At one point, when I was a private, I had a roommate who was a fuck up, and we were doing ability group runs one day down Ardennes, and I was in the medium group, and he was supposed to be in the medium group too. Well, we started the run, and he fell out of the medium group at the airborne PX right there by.
So he got about a mile. He got about a mile.
Not even.
So this is the old barracks, the old 2
Oh yeah, the old barracks. Yeah. He got about a quarter mile, and he fell out. Went inside, got himself a coffee, like chilled out, and then. And we were brand new, dude. Like we were still like at the point where I was trying to find people on the weekend who had like a place off post, so that I didn't have to worry about getting screwed with all weekend. But when the slow group came back, he jumped in the back with the slow group and finished out the run. Well, it took about 3 nanoseconds for his team leader and squad leader to figure out what he had done. He was like, "No, I just fell out, so I fell in with the slow group." And they smoked him from when we got back from the run. So
correctively trained him.
Yeah. They correctively trained him for a long time that day, from like 7:15. At 8:30, I was in my room in my uniform, staring at the door, and it was those old ones where everybody had the common bathroom, and then all the other. There wasn't the new barracks, and I'm staring at my door. And there was a little hole in the side where the lock was, where people had picked at it before. And I was staring at my door, listening to the squad leaders and team leaders yell at this dude in the hallway. And I hear him, and I was like, I wanted to go eat breakfast. And I was like, fuck, I can't leave the fucking room. I don't want to go out in that kill zone.
Nope.
No, sir. And we're on the second floor, so I wasn't about to jump out. But I'm sitting there staring at it, and they were like, do you know the fucking code? Is that what you think? You know the fucking code? You can figure everything out? Fucking slick? And they were like, who's your fucking roommate? And I was like standing there, and I automatically went to like parade rest in my room, and I was like, I'm not answering the door. And they pounded on my door, and I didn't say a fucking word. And then I see an eyeball in that hole, and they're like, open this motherfucking door. And I was like, oh God. I like open the door. They come storming in, knife handed me, and they're, you got the fucking code too? You know the code? And I was like, I don't know what code you're talking about. I don't have any codes. Mario codes.
I forgot Contra codes.
I can't even play video games. That's how not coded I am. I don't even know. I don't use computers. None of that.
Yeah.
They fucking walk out the room, and I was like, motherfucker. Later on that night, I was talking to my dad on the phone, and he was in the Army too, and he's like, you know what you ought to do? And I was like, no, what's that? And he's like, you need to go find a piece of paper, fold it into 4s, write code book on it, and then tell them that you found this in the room the next day. And I was like, you're supposed to be my dad. Why are you trying to get me killed? Like, they'll fuck me up. Nah, I ain't playing that game.
Yeah, some
No,
smoking
sir.
sons are worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyhow.
Yeah. Here's me, you know, I've always been an educated guy, right? So I have been, you know, I haven't necessarily always done the work, but I always did the reading, you know, and like, you know, so I always knew what I was talking about in class. Might not have done the homework.
You always knew just enough
right
to make other people question whether they knew what they were talking about.
Correct. And so again, I don't have to be right. Like, thank you for smoking says, I have to just make you wrong. Like, I don't have to be right. I like, it's just, but so I show up to Charlie Company and old Juan Perez is up there.
Yep.
And there's like 5 of us. He's like, all right, here's up, dickheads. You know, I'm like, oh, this is a cool place already. You know, like, nice.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and he's like, we only got one room. And it's with Delta Company. And he's like, where do I find the 5 W's in an op order? And I'm like, I fucking know this, you know? And I was like, because I was reading this manual in the barracks one day. And I'm like, oh, it's paragraph 3, First Sergeant. And he's like, where are you coming from? You a SWIC baby? I was like, I am, First Sergeant. He's like, all right, you got the room. Get the hell out of here. I was like, okay. So that I smoked cigarettes at the time because I was retarded, like you still are, you know. And
I'm not.
How'd you quit?
I'm quitting again. Yeah.
Nice. So I
right in the middle.
But I'm one of like the 4 guys that actually walked the smoking area, like in the entire battalion, you know, like because I was still like cherry as shit. I'm like, I'm not fucking up, dude. I'm walking there. So, but I screwed up. I lit my cigarette 1 foot out of that area. Right. Oh, and here comes old First Sergeant Cantrell. All right. He was Delta Company's first sergeant.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Oh, yeah.
And then who was that sergeant major, that op star major, Dunkelberger or whatever his name was. So
Dunkelberger.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So these two guys are walking up, and I hear,
hey! Speaking of cigarettes, I once lit a cigarette on a run that Dunkelberger was running just to be like, this ain't shit. Literally carried it in the little pocket of my PTs, and about halfway through the run, because he was trying to be the smoking us first sergeant, I pulled it out, lit it, and started smoking it while we were running.
That's awesome.
Just because, fuck that dude.
He was a fan. Yeah, he was
remember, he went down to the Sergeant Major's Academy after he got divorced, went to the Sergeant Major's Academy for a year at the time or whatever. Came back, buttoned down his shirt, gold chain with a crucifix on it, trying to be boys with all the Hispanic dudes because he was
in El Paso, bro.
He met a Mexican chick and got married. Yeah. And he's all of a sudden a freaking vato.
Yeah, he's a vato.
Hold up,
vato
bro.
Locos.
You are the farthest thing from that.
Yeah, whatever. so I hear, hey, you. And I was like, son of a bitch. Like, it's like 1655, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, oh, man. He's like, are you off or something? And I was like, I'm like, and I'm trying to see who it is, right? But I know they're higher ranking than me because I mean I there's like
everyone is
so yeah. I put my cigarette down on the and I stomp on it, think I'm doing the right thing, right? I'm putting it down on the ground, right? And I go to parade rest, and now that they're like almost like double timing, you know, and I'm like, what the fuck, you know, like what is going on? And he's like, oh, you're the new guy from Charlie Company. First Sergeant Cantrell says this, and he goes, your last name's Cottrell, right? And I was like, yeah, Roger, First Sergeant. He's like, so you're the jackass that everybody keeps yelling at, and I think they're yelling at me, getting my blood pressure all fired up, and I realize that they're not talking to me, but you've literally ruined. And I'm like, why is he talking to me like this? He's like, you've ruined my life for the last 3 weeks. And I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? And then Dunkelberger's like, yeah, and all these, I just saw you put your cigarette butt on the ground. You're probably the guy that puts them all around the ground around here, aren't you? You know, and I'm like, yeah, Roger, Sergeant Major, that was me. You know, like, which if I know him better now, I'd be like, Sergeant Major, I didn't do that. You know, but I'm like, yeah, Roger, Sergeant Major, that was me. Those are all my cigarette butts. he's like, all right, well, the first sergeant and I are going to go get some chow. And he's like, when I come back, I want all these cigarette butts picked up. And I was like, Roger, Sergeant Major. And so I pick up all the cigarette butts by the doorway where everybody smoked that didn't walk to the smoking area.
Mhm.
And then I picked up all the cigarette butts by the smoking area, threw those all away. Sure as shit, half hour later, boom, 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 boom. I call it ease. You forgot the second and the third floor on every wing. And I'm just like what the fuck, man? You know, and it's like, but again,
Yeah. I'm smoking at every
yes,
of this
but
motherfucker.
I owned them. I did
Absolutely.
own them. I said that they were all mine. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I smoke 58 packs of cigarettes a day. I really don't have much time for the Army because I'm so busy smoking.
All right, well, we'll cut this up a little bit. Probably take the wife part out of it. But
you should keep that.
I probably will.
You just might want to edit the part where you said that she was just
in the barracks,
trolling around the barracks. Yeah, that's my wife. She was there seeing this guy.
Yeah, dating this guy. Man, we gotta do a show on barracks stories, but
we don't. No, we don't.
The stuff I've seen on staff duty.
The stuff I've seen in the barracks.
Well, in the barracks is different, but staff duty, you just go in there like, I should do something about this because I'm technically in charge. But
these are also my peers.
Yeah, rock on, guys, yeah. Rock on.
At some point, I might be in the same shoes. I saw a thing the other day on TikTok where this person who is probably at risk for COVID was talking about hogging, and she was like, hogging is when guys go out just to find overweight women and have sex with them and blah blah blah. And I looked at the comments, and there was one where somebody said, I'm like something about the military. And then somebody else said something about how shitty military people are because they would do something like this. And then the rest of the thread was all military dudes that were unapologetic and like, yeah, we did it. It's a thing. That's a real thing. And at one point I wanted to be like, okay, first of all, these aren't just like poor overweight women that are just, half of them are married and they're in a military town. So they're not, pristine, peachy clean. They're like military chicks that are just out trolling to get, they're fine with whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's what they say about Fayetteville. So many guys there that even the fat chicks have their choice.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I'm sorry for anybody that's from there and is going to get offended, but I'm not. It's the only place I've ever seen where whole families are just wrecked. Like the whole family unit, like they go to Walmart and you're just like, this is some carnival shit right here. Like, I'm from Alabama and I have seen like a lot of trailer parks that had higher class people just walking around.
Yeah,
like
people with shoes on.
Alabama. Yeah, usually in Alabama, there's like one, maybe, two people in the family that people are like, yeah, that's Bertha. She's a little bit out there. But like in Fayetteville, it's whole families that are just like, they got 10 teeth between all of them. They've got they're just walking around, just doing it. It's the only place I've ever seen that Walmart is on the blacklist.
Right. So yeah, the one on Skybo got robbed like 14 days in a row.
Yeah. That was also the one that every time I went there, some retired sergeant major would come up and be like, trying to get gas. I'm going to California and just need $3. Like, bitch, gas is like, what you gonna buy a gallon and a half?
That won't even get you over the mountains. Like,
no, that won't even get you. That won't even get you to freaking Rayford. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, then we had a guy that worked in the company that he was a staff sergeant when we were all staff sergeant. You were a staff sergeant for like 2 decades.
Probably,
but you were definitely a staff sergeant.
I was a sergeant first class for a long time. I like those ranks. They were fun.
Yeah. And so he hears me talking about a party, and I see him listening to us, and I go, would you like to come, bro? And he was like, yeah, we'll show up. And this is a Packers Super Bowl party, 2010, right? Packers versus the Steelers, right? And I was like, hey, who are you a fan of, by the way? And he's like, oh, we're not Steelers or Packers fans. And I was like, okay, perfect. I was like, because it is a Packers Super Bowl. Like, I have good friends I didn't invite that are Steelers fans because it's just, we're not having that. Like, I'm not listening during the Super Bowl, somebody talk shit about the Packers. I'm not listening to it. Like this is my day. This is my church. Go away. And this spouse shows up with a homemade Steelers jersey. Homemade, like crayon colored.
Tooth. It's it shows a lack of tooth.
And so I do this to him. I was like, what are you doing? You know, and like blah blah blah. Like he's like, I tried to tell her, and I was like, okay, I see how this is going. Whatever. Now Trenton almost burned my house down that day, that night. Everything. It was an epic 2P party. Like it was a good time. So the next time my wife goes to Walmart, well, she sees this other person with the Steeler jersey. She goes up there, like, what you doing at my Walmart? Your
what?
Your Walmart? Like that's Fayetteville. Like that's like you just claimed your Walmart. Like, and then like you're mad. And so after they almost burned my house down, like the Packers had Clay Matthews had just made a tackle on Mendenhall, made him fumble. Packers got the recovery. I'm jumping up and down. My wife comes upstairs. I want everybody out of the fucking house now. And I was like, why can't you be happy? I'm like, this is the greatest day ever. I'm all hammered. And she's like, they just trying to burn our fucking house down. And I was like, I go down there and I'm like, oh, I like sobered up real quick. Well, kind of, I thought I did, you know, and I got like run downstairs and Dave's the first one to meet me. He's like, Nick, I'm sorry. And I was like, what do you mean you're sorry? Like, and he's like, I try to tell him not to do it. Like, so this kind of stuff. And then this other significant other was like, it's not like you own the place. And it was like, well, we do. That's one. All right. And two, even if we didn't,
our kids are here. We live here. All of our stuff.
We all could die for one. And then two, it's to say nobody got hurt. We still have to pay for it. Like, what the
this idiot. Yeah, just leave.
All right. So
hell, if everything in my house burns down, I'm only down a milk crate. $5.37 worth of Walmart furniture.
Yeah, this is quite an introduction to our show. This is our third episode of the Fifth Principle of Patrolling, where we talk about stuff that doesn't make sense to us. And Buddy and I are both, we like to consider ourselves full of common sense. And so sometimes there's things that we don't get, and we need somebody to come on the show and explain certain things to us. All right. So we go back, and it's even better now that we, as the White House press secretary say, circle back. All right. We'll circle back to our first episode where we talked about if 74% of the population is vaccinated, right? How can the 3 million people that are unvaccinated and get it, how are they a danger? Right. Nobody came on to explain that to us. Now they're coming up with a new phrase that says you're under vaccinated.
Oh yeah, because you don't have a booster.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So not only did we miraculously come up with this vaccine for a cold virus that no cold virus has ever been eradicated, but whatever. So now we've magically
probably has something to do with the fact that it mutates at such a huge rate that
just like the flu. Remember when people remember when people call it the flu and they're like, that's not the flu. It's starting to look really close to the flu.
It looks very flu.
just a little worse.
Well, yeah, but the flu, they give you a different shot every year because they come up with what the flu is going to be. Except for what they don't tell you is that shot is pretty much a gamble. It's a 10%. You may or may not.
They give you the antibodies for the worst strain of the flu that year. Like
the one they think is going to be
right.
worse.
And then again, it's not for me and you.
Right.
It's for old
It's
people.
for old people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we do know now that the coronavirus attacks fat cells. And this, by the way, we're still looking for a sponsor for the show. So we have a really decent reach, guys. So if anybody wants to sponsor it, we work for like peanuts and beer money. So send us a bottle of
after this show, maybe what is the Weight Watchers or
Yeah,
my
Weight
bad,
Watchers.
WW. Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't say Weight Watchers anymore. It's just WW.
Jenny Craig,
Yeah,
the Atkins diet, like something.
4Bs, maybe.
Yeah.
4Bs could
So it's
could give us throw us a sponsorship. That'd be great.
so
And I'll even start it, Nick. How about this? Hey, you save yourself from Corona. Join 4Bs or WW or whatever you want, and get slim down and slim your chances of dying by going to Weight Watchers.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get to say I told you so, which I don't want to say because people are dying from coronavirus. So like, but I've been saying it all along that this is a war against the unhealthy. And it's not a war against vaccinated or unvaccinated people as much as the news wants it to be. Anybody who watches the news and actually tries to sell the narrative that they're selling, you're a bad human being. All right, you're a disservice to society, and anybody who wants to come on this show, maybe Vlad Dudier will come on. I doubt it, but maybe he'll come on and he'll explain to me and to us, why the narrative that they try to sell sometimes is something we should repeat. Right. Because
the fact is, that their narrative is jacked up because they keep saying things like follow science, trust science, like I am science, or you know what I mean? Well, you can't just use a subject, a noun, as if it like science is a giant, broad spectrum of things. You are not science. Fauci is no more science than Bill Nye the Science Guy is, and he doesn't have a degree in science. He's got a degree in acting.
Right.
And then again, it doesn't make any sense.
We've talked about this before, to where at what point in time do I need to be epidemiologist to understand data? Right. Like if I can read, and people ask me, where do you get your shit from? And I was like, the CDC website. They're like, what? I'm like, yes, there's actually a lot of really, really good scientists and doctors at the CDC.
There's also a lot of good, if you just look at the CDC website and then you read it and you read how nebulous most of their comments and their theories are, they don't know what the fuck is going on.
But they're not trying to sell you anything. That's the point.
No,
it's
they're not.
They're
But
literally, they're
"Right,
presenting
we
the
don't know."
data to you in a scientific way that is like, if you could understand some of those little like symbols and stuff like that, it's like, oh, okay, that's, all right, that was their test subject. Okay, this one was a placebo. Yeah, got it. And because I've taken some of those classes, I understand those. Doesn't make me an expert by any means on fucking coronavirus, but I know what the data means. And so the way
are you trying to say that you can also look at the data and draw a logical conclusion using
common sense,
the fifth principle of patrolling, if you will?
Oh, beautiful. But let's get into it. So much has happened that I wanted to talk about since last month, but there's just one thing that has topped it all, and that is climate change is the reason for the spike in obesity.
Makes sense because the climate's getting colder, so people are staying.
It's either too cold or too hot to exercise.
Oh, they should maybe go find some of those people at. And by the way, when I said the climate's getting colder, I was being facetious. It's, supposedly, it's getting warmer, which would mean that you would sweat more.
Which then makes it colder in the winter because it's warmer, and then it's climate. It's just the science, buddy.
Right, yeah. It's science. My bad. Well, the same people that so then explain all of these winter and summer athletes that are super fit. They're not too hot and too cold. Yeah, it doesn't, like, one doesn't have anything to do with the other. Like, I remember doing runs in Egypt when it was 130 degrees outside, like when your nose was on fire, like you were still having to go.
Like you can't even breathe when you walk outside.
Yeah, exactly. It's like somebody's blowing a hot air dryer in your face. Or and then look at like guys at up at in New York with the 10th Mountain. Like the people from Alaska go to freaking the 10th Mountains base to practice cold weather training because it's so freaking cold and snowy there. And every
Vermont
day,
too. They do it in Vermont.
Yeah,
Like,
they're out with snowshoes, like running in snowshoes or rucking in snowshoes or skiing or doing whatever. So, one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other. The fact is we're just a lazy group of people.
And I got it. And so I am empathetic to certain people. And in America, there's not that many of them. There's not that many of them that don't have a little bit of scratch in their pocket. There are poor people, and there are people that, their diet is tough to, get on top of and track, because education, money, all that stuff matters, right? But for the majority, you're fat. The majority of Americans are fat. So you're fat. We're also our fit people are the fittest people in the world. So it's a huge bell curve, right? But the fat people, you're fat because you're lazy. Now, I work out a lot, and even since I started becoming a road soldier, retired on active duty, right? Like, I've cut it down to about 3 times a week. I work out about 3 times a week instead. I used to do about 5, right? And if it's not nice outside, I don't go out there. Why? Because
I have a Peloton for that.
Well, right, but that, like, I am privileged, right? Right. So, like, but that would be the only reason I could see to not work out, is that you're already in shape and you look outside and you're like, nah, not today. Right? Because you're going to make it up on Saturday. Right? You're going to.
But that's the thing, though. How many times have you looked outside, said, nah, I'm not going to work out. It's shitty outside or whatever. And then you turn around and think about 10 steps and you're like, now I feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
yeah. You know what I mean? Like I've stopped running pretty much altogether. I ride the bike, but I stopped running because my feet are fucked up from the
that's
army.
one of the worst things for you.
My feet, knees, all that shit is jacked up. I'll go for I'll do walks or interval runs or something like that every now and then. But for the most part, I just ride that bike and then go to the gym and lift. But at the end of the day, like, you have to do something. But
right.
A lot of it is just, it's a conscious decision to not do. It's a whole lot easier to go to Walmart and get 50 bags of chips than it is to go to Walmart and get, healthy food. And it's not like the healthy food options are that much more expensive. They're not.
Right. And, and so, like, again, to be sensitive to people that have like thyroid conditions and stuff like that, they'll always try to trap you and say it's an actual condition. It's like, yes, it is. And that's unfortunate. All right. Your choices in life didn't give you a thyroid condition. Your choices in life made you obese. All right. Because of that, your body has responded in this way. Right. Yeah, and because I heard somebody say, I don't hear people saying, I got chlamydia. It's because, like, it's not a disease because it was a personal choice to have sex. And I was like, chlamydia is a disease, right? It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that you get it. But again, we know how not to get it.
Right.
Like, and so nobody's judging you for having a drug addiction, because once you actually become addicted, it is now a disease because you have a chemical imbalance. Right. Like, but you still, Americans, we try so hard to just take away from the fact, like, the common sense of it, the 5th principle.
I think the word that you're looking for is the personal responsibility.
Right.
We have gotten away from taking personal responsibility. The only thing that we take personal responsibility in is finding things to be offended or pissed off by, or finding things to make us a victim.
Well,
And then we'll sit around, and instead of taking care of those things, or like just having a conversation to talk about them or figure them out, instead we'll pull up our phone and make a video. Like, I just saw a thing the other day where there was some police officers talking about people on a subway train. This girl got raped on a subway, and while she's getting raped, there are multiple people that aren't intervening. They're holding their fucking phones out, watching her get raped. They should get charged with the same fucking thing. Like, it's insane to me that we're at a time where that is, again, like, we're going back into the wild west, where, well, mind your own business. If they're not stealing your horses or your cattle, or they're not killing your wife and kids, or they're not doing whatever, then it's none of your business. We're supposed to be a society that is at least somewhat civilized, and civilized societies don't allow people to rape people on a fucking subway.
right, and so
but to rape them on a subway while we record it.
let's go to the source of all
Star.
things common sense, and that's movies, right? That's the only way we
Uh-huh.
justify things, and
Yeah.
like you think about like Tombstone.
Unless it's an Alec Baldwin movie, and then nobody lives.
You think about Tombstone, which they fired lots of guns, and somehow, and for some reason
Nobody got
died.
shot.
Yeah.
Well,
and,
their actors took personal responsibility, and they did the crazy fundamental, very, very first fundamental of any marksmanship is checking the weapon when you get it.
So there's that scene where Wyatt's drinking his coffee. He goes, "Why don't you just let it go?"
Yeah,
and they're like, "We can't do that in a decent society."
Yeah,
and so that's like I said, you have to use Hollywood to prove your points, and that's like back in the wild west, that's the way it was. It's like, just let it go. Like, eventually that guy will kill that guy, and it won't be a problem anymore.
Right.
Like, or that guy will kill
well,
whatever.
That's where we're going again too.
But again, the population was so small back then, to where it's like, if you lost 4 or 5 people out of your community, that's a good thing. Like, because you're trying to survive back then, like the resources and all that kind of stuff.
Especially if those 4 or 5 people in the community weren't providing anything to the community.
Correct, and they were stealing or whatever. They didn't care. Like,
And
I always tell people, if you study history, they used to build walls to keep bad people out of, right?
Yeah.
And now we build walls to keep bad people in, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, are we rehabilitating them, or are we just educating them? Because
go to career college,
yeah,
or criminal college, yeah.
But either way, so again, the news, CBS Mornings, Vlad, I get in arguments with you all the time. I appreciate that you respond to me, but they're trying to take away from the controlling factor of COVID. COVID has caused kids to get fatter. COVID has caused lots of second, third, and fourth order effects by everybody group thinking and shutting down at the same time, right? Like, all shutting schools down, even though the CDC said to keep schools open, right? Like people don't realize that they trust the science. Well, they said to keep it open. They said the kids are safer there. Well, wait, what? No? Okay, bye. Like, so nobody's going to get COVID at school. All right. The reason why nobody gets COVID on an airplane is because, one, the air gets recirculated like every 4 minutes. And then the other reason why is because unless you're like a weirdo, you just sit there, then you fly, right? You watch a little movie, like if somebody's talking to you, you're kind of like, yeah, cool. Like, I'm going to take a nap now, bro. I just popped like 2 fucking THC pills. Like, I'm out.
Well, now, have you flown lately?
I have.
Yeah, I flew Southwest not too long ago, and they have like a menu for your drink, and you have to like point at the one you want, which is funny because like I always,
it's like baseball hand signs.
Yeah, I always point to coffee, and then the stewardess has to like pull her mask down or whatever, and she's like, "Do you want cream in that?" And then I have to pull mine down. I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, and some sugar. I appreciate it because I'm a fucking child and I don't drink my coffee black. I don't care what you think." That one got me. You got me.
Yeah, I triggered you a little bit. Yeah,
Sorry.
and I didn't even have to. You just knew what I was going to say.
Caffeine.
Just knowing what I was going to say triggered you. And again, we call that instant gay. And I'm surprised you didn't know that, because I learned that from an SF guy, like a legitimate one. Right. So like my 2 weeks.
I don't know what you're talking about. We would never say anything like that.
My 2 weeks in Swick, right? Like they were they're like, hey, you guys can have coffee today. And we're like, oh, hell yeah. And he's like, I don't want to see you guys putting an instant gay in there. All right, no sugar or cream. I remember that
I
for the rest of my life.
I had a chief one time that we were in Turkey and we were working off of an Air Force base, and they had a Starbucks on it because it's a fucking Air Force base.
Right.
And with the other engineer and I looked at the chief and we're like, hey man, we're gonna go grab some coffee. You want anything? He was like, yeah, grab me one. And I was like, and the other engineer was like, what do you want? What kind of coffee you want? And he's like, I want it like my soul. And we were like, okay, I guess. So we went over and got his ass a pumpkin spice latte, brought it back, gave it to him. He takes a sip of it and he goes, you motherfuckers know what I wanted.
Oh man. Oh, that's great. Like, but again, getting back to the common sense thing that we're supposed to be talking about. But again, those of you listening, I hope you're enjoying it, because I know I'm going to enjoy listening to it again. You're not fat because of climate change. All right. You're fat because of your diet. All right. That's the most important thing, is your diet.
I don't think so. Right? I think you're missing something. Because the people that say that they're fat because of climate change are not fat because of their diet. They're not fat because of climate change. They're fat because they make excuses. And climate change is just an excuse. So it's their diet.
But it's also because you're starting to see the things that I was talking about a year ago start to surface, about how we're causing people to be fatter by shutting things down, by, the gyms being this and that. Like, now it's like we got to find some way to sell a narrative that it wasn't their fault. And it's like, no. Sell the narrative that it's your fault. Like it's your fault. Like
you know what? It doesn't matter whose fault it is at that point, though, right?
Right.
Because it doesn't.
Well, it does when it comes to the healthcare system, that we're all of a sudden concerned about hospitalizations, right? And it's like, when you talked about this before, it's like, how come we never wore masks in a hospital? Like, ever.
It blows my mind. I thought about that the other day walking into the hospital again. Yeah. I was like, I can't believe we ever did that.
Like, why?
The thing is, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. At the end of the day, your health is your responsibility.
Correct.
So even if they close down all your gyms and you were like, yeah, I'm going to wait till the lockdown's over, I'm going to get it. Well, at this point, we're 2.5 years into 2 weeks. At this point, it is what it is, and it's time for you to figure it out on your own. Whether you're going to walk, run, eat less, lift weights, do push-ups, do whatever you got to do. Like, you got to do it, because the onus to be healthier is not on the government. It's not on it. It's on you. And if you're a parent, the onus of your kid to be healthy, that is on you. Like,
right. And I've always been an advocate to where if your kid's fat, you should be you should be possibly, at first, like, brought in and counseled by a school counselor saying this is child abuse.
Right.
Like, when your kid asks for a second burrito, you tell him no.
And you know what? There's a big difference. And I'm gonna not that I'm triggered.
You are. You've been triggered. You've been triggered since the coffee comment, but it's okay.
But
you got to take 2 breaths.
When I was a kid, I was husky. You know what I mean?
You still are kind of husky.
Yeah.
Big bone.
But when I was a kid, I was thick with 3 C's.
Yeah.
I was a guy with a mustache with wet dream. Like they'd have loved me. Real soft.
Get the white walls.
Real cushy. Yeah, I didn't even need the lotion. My skin was smooth. Anywho, but but there's a difference between being husky. I still was athletic. I still went out. I still played football. I still wrestled. I did all those things. but then like I talked to so I have a friend, we'll call her, okay, she's my girlfriend. I'm dating someone that is
I haven't seen it on Facebook yet, so it's not official.
It's not true. It is on Facebook. The
Is it?
profile picture. Thank you very much.
I don't even look at your page anymore.
Yeah, well, usually
I'm still waiting for your VTT page.
I actually tried to put some stuff. You know what? Getting off topic.
No, sorry.
She's a nurse anesthetist in here in Nashville, and she does children. Like that's her thing. Is she does pediatrics.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
No.
Yeah.
You know what? From the guy who said that his wife was a
In the barracks rat.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it. But,
it was a slip, all right.
Yeah, she. But I've heard her like talk about cases where there were 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds that were 105 kilograms. I weigh less than that. Like, that's insane. And I was like, what's wrong with them? Like, did they have like, and I try to like do maybe it's their thyroid, maybe, and like we had Jimmy Bates on the show the other day, maybe they're going through chemo and they've just, their system is ravished. I'm not trying to but it's none of that. They're just, 230 pounds, 240 pounds at 7 or 8 years old. Like at that point, she says the same thing. She's like, I don't understand why somebody doesn't, like, why we can't do something, because all they're doing is, they're murdering their kid,
right?
Just super duper slowly. And those are the same ones that you see on like My 600-Pound Life or whatever, and they've all got that same victim voice for like, when I was a child, I weighed 200 pounds, and then like my uncle touched my butt, and then my mom told me that I wasn't good enough, and so I just started eating, and I ate and I ate and I ate, and then you watch them, and like even if as adults, like, okay, when you were 10, 11, or 12, something bad happened. Don't discount it, fine. But at some point in your life, when you become an adult, you have to look in the mirror and say, okay, that happened. First thing I need to do is deal with it. And the second thing I need to do is deal with myself and get myself to a better place so that like I can be a happy, productive member of society, as opposed to just using that as a freaking excuse. And then if you watch those shows, like they're literally like, they wake up in the morning, somebody brings them fast food for 4 people, they eat it for breakfast. An hour and a half later, somebody brings them fast food for 4 people, they eat it for lunch. An hour and a half later, they're eating something else for a snack that's a meal for 2 people. And then they eat a gigantic dinner that is all brown. There's nothing, there is no other color on any of those plates other than different shades of brown. Like everything's either fried, some kind of a bun, or like a processed meat. Like,
delicious.
Oh my God. Then they try to lose weight. They're like, well, I'm gonna eat a salad, and they're like making this face like they're eating actual shit. And then they douse it. Well, this is nasty. I need to put some ranch dressing on it. Like, fuck, you might as well eat the hamburger. Like, you're just drinking it instead. But they have that same victim mentality, and people make excuses for them. We're in a society where everybody wants to make an excuse, and like the global warming thing,
climate change.
Everybody wants to.
It's not global warming anymore. That got debunked.
Climate change. Yeah. Well, the whole climate change thing. First of all, what annoys me about the climate change is like I'll make a joke, like if the weather's real cold here on like Facebook, it'll be like, oh, global warming, whatever, it's 33 degrees here or something like that. And inevitably, somebody gets on there and says, you can't make a statement about global warming or climate change based on a one day or weather patterns for this small period of time. And I'm like, well, wait a second, hold up. If I can't do that in one day, then how are you doing it in 100 years when the earth is millions of years old and we've gone through ice ages? The earth is completely frozen and then thawed out and frozen and thawed out and frozen. global warming and cooling have always been a cycle the Earth has done. Like, so.
And so you watch like National Geographic, right? And did you ever watch the one about if Yellowstone blows up?
Yeah. Where it's
Like,
kill everybody.
like it's over. Like,
the world's done.
And it's an active volcano.
Right.
So it's gonna go at some time, whether it's 1,000 years from now, 1,000,000 years from now, doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, that's why I have stock in Tesla, because I'm going to be on Mars.
Right. Yeah.
Me and Elon.
You and Elon. I'm trying to Elon on the show. He's not responding to me. I've tweeted him twice.
We don't do enough. We don't smoke enough weed. But in about
but I got pills.
In 3 months. In 3 months, I can.
Yeah.
Hang out with you.
Yeah, and then again, with the climate change, there's enough science, because science is always learning if we talk about it the right way, right? Like science is always learning. There are ways that we can, make our planet better. There is. Like you just look at Southern California and you look at like LA toward the smog factor, right? And they literally did things to make it clearer there, like to clean up the air. You can control your area, right? But you can't control the core of the planet. Like, and you can't control like sunburst. How the hell do we know? Buddy's writing something. Use the whiteboard, buddy. One of these days.
I just came up with a t-shirt idea and I have to write it down.
All right, yeah. Like one of these days he's gonna use that whiteboard behind him and teach you a class. But it doesn't make any sense to me. So we need a climate specialist on here. All right. And I like how all the weather people now on the news are called climate specialists. It's like, you're good at reading a radar, right?
That's like whenever there's a war and then they have like they have the consultant on there on Fox or on MSNBC.
The correspondent.
Like, the retired corporal.
Yeah.
Jack Schneeberhoffen.
Yeah.
Who was a pack clerk.
My favorite's always retired lieutenant.
83rd.
My favorite's always a retired lieutenant colonel. And I was you sucked.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of full bird colonels that their generals did not like them because they were assholes, but they still made colonel because they were good, right? Like they're still in. Like, you're a retired lieutenant colonel, you're probably a sellout, all right? So it's like, and then finally some general was like, yeah, this guy will suck dick for anything, and and it's like, bye.
But he just didn't fuck up enough,
right?
And stayed in long enough,
right? But
because somebody's got to be a lieutenant colonel at Fort Polk.
Oh, that just triggered something in me. I kind of wanted to stay on topic, but like, I'm looking at this guy, we're doing a live fire and it's a full bird colonel on a Saturday, right? Like, and like it's a Saturday, we're doing a live fire at JRTC, and I'm a first sergeant at the time, and like we're going through it, and the whole time I can't concentrate on this live fire because I'm sitting there like, why is there a full bird colonel out here? Like, why is he walking our lane? And like, is it some kind of like he's trying to get on WTF moments as being that leader? Like, okay, maybe that could be it. Like he took a weekend shift for somebody, right? And it's like whatever. And then as I'm watching him, right, and he's talking, right, and he's saying a lot of really good shit, and I'm like, okay, like, and it's shitty weather. It's cold. It's raining, and I'm like, why is he out here? Like, this guy is like 80 years old. I'm like, why? And his nose is beet red. It's big. He's got that Polish big red nose. And I'm like, he's an alcoholic. I'm like, that's why. But I'm like, he's really smart. The way he was talking, like, I'm like, this is a guy I would go fight for.
Yeah.
Right. But you could tell he's made some decisions in his life, and he probably slams like Johnny Walker Blue on the rag. And so he has to keep his job, like, because it's expensive,
Yeah.
and he said he screwed up so much that he's still working. And here he is on a Saturday, like a full bird colonel doing a company live fire. And I'm like, okay. like, well, technically that's what a colonel's supposed to do, is a company live fire, but it's like, why did you do this to yourself? But again, that was sidetracked on that. So we got to wrap it up here in a little bit, because I don't want to edit a 4-hour-long video, even though we could probably, we should just talk for like 3 hours, because people will listen to it. I'm game if you are. I just have to edit it.
We could find at least 20 minutes worth of usable shit in 3 hours. Probably.
Yeah, but I have to do that. So
yeah, we can always talk about how my video got kicked off TikTok the other day.
Oh, let's talk about how you got punked by Dave thread. And you have to admit it. He doesn't do that tomorrow. He doesn't have the balls. He doesn't have the balls to do it tomorrow. He won't do it, but I'll do it. Actually,
I'm definitely. I gotta do that tomorrow. I have to do tomorrow, and then on Monday I have to call and apologize to the resource management office for fifth group, because I kept bitching at them about raising my card limit so I could pay for something, and then I realized today that I had been trying to swipe my personal credit card the entire time. And it's like, my bad, guys. Bank of America.
I'd like to make fun of you for that, but I've been there. Like, just like, why isn't this working?
Yeah, it's the wrong card. I have for 2 days been yelling at people. And
so again, I know we probably, if you're still listening to this podcast, like, you're probably not a fan. You probably are a fan of us, but the ones that have quit, I hope you came back on. Like, we do really care about people. So it's like, when we say be in shape, be healthy, take care of your kids. And what I was going to say before you got me sidetracked on the Fort Polk story was Ubereats, right? Yeah. Ubereats has absolutely exploded during COVID.
Yeah. Right. To the point that they're charging more for delivery fees than they are for the food.
I may or may not have invested in Uber, right? Because I knew that was going to happen, right? Yeah. But it's like, I do like a treat, like every Sunday we Uber Eats like McDonald's breakfast, right? Because the way I raise my children, you are going to play a sport, right? Like, I don't care which one it is, you get to pick it. If you want to say I'm not doing something, I will go to a game every Saturday, every Wednesday, and I will sit there like this while you're having the most miserable time of your life. All right. Why? Because I know that every day at practice, you're not going to be a fat kid, no matter what you eat. Okay. Because you're a kid. You have a, and then there's like you said, there's the husky kids that their body has just grown a little differently than most, right?
Yeah.
You're still active.
Right.
Like you're still this, just like in the Army, when people always like, there should be a standard weight cutoff. Boom. No, you're an idiot. Yeah. Like I can tell you right now, that's why the commander has a decision.
There are different. There are definitely, we could say there are different body styles. There are people that have different body styles. That is a real thing.
Right. So a commander could be like, I'm not putting him on the overweight program because he scores at 295.
Right.
And I don't care about his tape test.
One of the guys that when I first came,
remember Perrin?
Company. Yeah. Well, one of the guys that when I first came to Charlie Company,
I might as well have another
one of the 240 gunner, one of the 240 gunners, Garza is what his name was. And I got there and saw that dude, and I was like, I can't wait to go. Like, if this is what we got going on, I can outrun this dude any day of the week. Yeah. And I was like, we went on the first run. This dude, I shit you not, Garza was probably 240, 250 pounds. He's about 6 foot, maybe 6'1". He was a big Hispanic kid. And that motherfucker at 250 pounds was running 6-minute miles. The first PT test we did, it was like 11, like in the low 11s. And I was just like, what the fuck, dude? That guy got kicked out of the Army on the overweight program.
Science.
He could
under Dunkelberger.
No, it was
Oh.
before Uncle Dunk got there. But he could ruck with the absolute best of them, carry all the rounds for the 240, the tripod, the gun, T&E, the whole fucking deal, and the damn 240, and still have no problems during a 25-mile road march. He could run an 11-minute 2-mile, do all the push-ups and sit-ups he needed to do. And they were like, yeah, well, you don't pass the body mass index.
Well, you remember Perrin, right?
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh
right.
yeah.
So like when
Perrin looked like a fucking piece of shit, but he could fucking get it.
So I asked him one time, I go, hey bro, like, why are you so fat? And he goes, as a kid, bro, he's like, I couldn't shake it. And this brought me back to something else you were talking about the whining and complaining and, not taking self, accountability. Mm-hmm. We got to validate it with Hollywood, right? So you got the movie Waiting.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
All right. So at the end, the guy's like, and look at you, always crying about, I don't know what to do. And this is this, that. Join the fucking army. That's what he yells. Right. Like, yeah. Like, and I laugh my ass off at that line every time, because it's like every time I hear a kid complain about how rough the world is, or like why you can't figure out what they want to do, it's like, go join the army. You're gonna meet 1,000 different people that are gonna give you all kinds of different things to go do when you get out. All right, like, and by the way, you're gonna get in shape. So that fit Perrin's narrative to where, he got fat as a kid because he wasn't raised properly, but he had drive, he had initiative, right?
And he was fucking fast, like the dude.
Yeah. But his body had been through 15 years of shit, so probably more, right? And so there's just some things you're never going to fully recover from without plastic surgery, right? So like he had this gut, and I'm sitting like, how do you have this gut? Like, what is wrong with you? It didn't make sense to me. Fifth principle, right? Because you'd watch him, like, he'd swallow his Copenhagen, like he'd gut it, and then drink a Dr. Pepper while with a big Copenhagen in his mouth. So you could tell that this guy has he doesn't have any common sense when it comes to diet or nutrition, because he never got taught it, right? Nothing. But he had drive, and he wanted to be somebody, right? And so all of his faults that I can name 1,000 faults on Perrin, but like to say something nice about the guy, because it's 100% true, is the dude was outrunning every skinny guy with fucking abs.
Oh yeah.
And he would do 95 sit-ups. Yeah, like I said, and he had a Copenhagen in his mouth. Right? Yeah. Like, and he's spitting on your white privilege, right? This is easy, right? It's like, guys, come on. Like, you're fat because you want to be fat, right? Like you're happy. It's okay. I say this on the show all the time. I'm not judging you for being fat. All right, but coronavirus is going to judge you. It's going to judge you fast as shit, right? Diabetes is going to judge you, right? You're going to leave this world without any type of accident a lot sooner than people will. And that, like, you might never be a grandfather or grandmother, right? You might not, because of you. It's not climate change, right? So again, if anybody wants to come on the show and talk to us about why climate change makes you fat, we'd be more than happy to have you on. It would be a pleasure. Like, it'd be awesome. And then if anybody wants to come on and talk about why the third booster that just magically got approved for 16, 18-year-olds, right? Like, if anybody wants to come on and explain that, like, please, like, Fauci, Dr. Death, where you at? Let's do it. Like, come on.
Fauci's not coming.
We're not saying you're wrong. Tell us why does it make sense?
Just explain it. Like, I've got a whiteboard. You can just draw it out for me.
Go to Clarksville and use Buddy's whiteboard. That's all I'm saying.
You can bring it.
Other than that, it was
plenty of dry erase markers.
I hope you hung out and listened to all of it. If not, and if you want to sponsor us, reach out to us on our website, VeteranTrashTalk.com. I'm the Big Earl. Buddy doesn't have a website on there yet because we don't even know if he
I
has
know-
a
I
Facebook
don't,
page.
but hey, be
but-
looking out for our t-shirts. They're gonna be coming. I got them.
T-shirts are coming out. T-shirt,
Oh, yeah.
and that'll be a saving grace for when Dave punks him tomorrow. All right, guys, we'll see you next month.